Hey YouTubers, welcome to my new movie collections update video for the month of January. Right, so I'm going to basically show you and talk a little bit about some of the movies that I collected during the past month. And I got a nice little stack here, right, so let's get started, alright? And the first movie that I got to show you, I believe I actually showed it to you on a previous video that I had posted up. And it's the DVD version of Godzilla vs. Biollante. Now, like I've said it before, a lot of you know that I'm a huge Godzilla fan, so I was actually pretty excited when this one actually came out on DVD because I also have it on VHS, but I like to try to move some of my, VHS movies onto higher media. I know that they have the Blu-ray version out, but unfortunately I couldn't find it at the time that I went and bought this one. So, but still, I'm pretty glad that I have this copy right here. So definitely watch it if you're a Godzilla fan. The next movie that I have to show you is the updated version or the remake of Dredd. And from my understanding, I have read that this particular movie is probably one of the most sought after and hard to find movies out there right now. And it only came out maybe about 2 weeks ago, I think. And it's pretty much, you can't even find it at stores because I guess a lot of people really liked it, and so they're buying it. And after watching it myself, I have to say that yeah, this is actually a fairly decent movie compared to the original Sylvester Stallone version of Judge Dredd, which I only just saw bits and pieces of it, but I could tell that a lot of people had their problems with it. But watching this one, and from what I know about the Dredd comics series, this is actually a fairly decent adaptation, and it's very stylistic, lots of action. The main actor, Carl Urban, plays the role of Dredd really well, actually. Even though at some points I kind of feel like he was actually trying to mimic Sylvester Stallone's way of talking, But, of course, he does his own thing, too, to make the character true to himself, things like that. So it's pretty cool. And then even Olivia Thirlby, who plays Dredd's rookie partner in this movie, is actually, she was pretty cool in it as well. As well as, nice to look at, too. So definitely, catch Judge Dredd if you haven't seen it, and if you can find it on Blu-ray especially, definitely get it if you're really a big fan of this movie. Okay. Next that I have here is a movie called 5 Minutes of Heaven, and it stars Liam Neeson. Now I'm going to give you like a bit of a background behind this movie. Supposedly it's based on true events that happened in the early 1970s with the protests and conflicts that were happening in Northern Ireland between these different groups. I think primarily it was a lot of what would I call it? Like civil conflicts, and civil protests that were happening in Northern Ireland during the mid-1970s. And it's about this 17-year-old who ends up murdering this guy, and the victim's younger brother happens to witness the murder when it happened. And then it jumps to about 30 years later, and the shooter, now an adult, who's played by Liam Neeson, is brought together by a TV crew, and Liam Neeson's character and the victim's younger brother who witnessed the murder are brought together to see if they can try to reconcile their differences, despite the fact that, they know each other and they know what they're responsible for. And what I like about this movie is just basically seeing how the younger brother basically has all this kind of bottled up rage for the fact that, his brother was killed, and now he has a chance to actually confront his brother's killer. And, he wants to kill him on live TV because it's going to be like a huge broadcast. It's going to be put together like one of those documentary specials about what happened with these two particular characters. So it was really, really nicely done, very dramatic, a lot of powerful energy behind the performances behind Liam Neeson and the other actor who played the younger brother. His name is James Nesbitt, who plays the younger brother of the victim who was killed. And I have to say that both these actors are probably the top in terms of Irish actors that are in films today, and they did a magnificent job in terms of portraying these two characters and just being in this one setting and having to create this atmosphere of dread and contempt and fear in terms of wanting to do something and not sure if they could pull it off. It's very, very dramatic, very powerful. So I definitely recommend this movie for you guys to check it out. So that The next movie, of course, is a classic that I know a lot of you have seen, and that's Heat. Now, I've seen this movie several times and seen it before, and I finally decided to just pick up my own copy on Blu-ray. So it was actually, pretty nice to see, this movie in high definition with high quality sound, and especially when you watch that entire gunfight scene that's about 15 to 20 minutes long. It's so loud. So I almost feel like there was actually a shootout happening right here in my own house. So, I'm not going to really say much about this movie because I'm sure that a lot of you have seen this movie. You know what it's about, and it's great performances all around, by Al Pacino, Val Kilmer, and Robert De Niro, and some of the other supporting cast members as well. It's this really, really fun flick, lots of action, definitely a must view or must own if you're a DVD collector or whatnot. The next movie that I have to show you is something that I've already shown you as well in a previous video, and that is the Indiana Jones Complete Avengers Collection on Blu-ray. Now, I've seen all these movies, and when I've seen the Blu-ray versions of it, I was amazed at just how well the restoration was done on each of these movies, especially the first three, because I know the last one, Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, is just fairly recent, so that was going to look pretty good anyway, regardless of whether it was on DVD or Blu-ray. But the other previous three films, it was fantastic seeing in such high quality with audio and all the visuals and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool. And what's nice about this particular pack is that basically it's like a small little book, and on the inside you have all the individual movies in the sleeves. See, the discs are in each individual sleeve. So you have right here Temple of Doom, and before that one, of course, is Raiders of the Lost Ark, then Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and of course the Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls. And then there's a separate one a separate disc actually for all the bonus features for all of the films. So it's a pretty nice set. I really enjoyed it. If you guys are a fan of the Indiana Jones movies like I am, you should definitely pick this up on Blu-ray. Definitely worth having. And the next movie that I have to show you is the Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 2-pack Blu-ray set right here. Big fan of the Kill Bill movies. I've seen them before. I enjoyed them. I love Uma Thurman's performances as this revenge-seeking ex-assassin who goes back and kills all the people that were involved in her murder. And just seeing the quality here, and it gets a little it takes a little getting used to watching a Tarantino film, because Tarantino, of course, has his own style of filmmaking. So there's a lot of backtracking, with the movie beginning with the ending and then going backwards to kind of give you the entire context of why all the characters are there where they're at, and moving forward until we finally reach the climax. And I love these movies, so I definitely wanted to pick them up. I didn't want to actually pick up the individual movies because it was going to cost a little bit more, so I was actually glad that they finally released, a 2-pack set on Blu-ray. So definitely picked this up. So that. Next one I have here is a movie that I've actually seen being commented on by some other YouTube video collectors, and that's this movie called Killer Joe. Now, I believe I may have shown you this movie in a previous video. I'm not quite sure if I did or not, but anyway, this actually stars Matthew McConaughey, Emile Hirsch, and Juno Temple, and I have to say that I'm really impressed with Matthew McConaughey's performance here as the lead character, Killer Joe. So he's kind of like this cop, but he also has this other job on the side, which is basically kind of like a personal assassin. So he's hired by other people to kill, whoever. And basically it just falls down to Emile Hirsch, hiring Matthew McConaughey's character to murder Emile Hirsch's mother in order to collect, her life insurance money. And, it's, again, my biggest comment about this movie is Matthew McConaughey, playing this kind of rogue assassin type character. And I'm really impressed, at how he was able to actually pull this character off. As a matter of fact, Matthew McConaughey has been doing a lot of recent roles where he's been playing them fairly well. Like, the only other movie that comes to mind that I can think of where, he's playing these diverse characters rather than just instead of just playing, like, romance roles and stuff like that, is this other movie called Bernie, where he plays the lawyer in there, and he actually did a pretty good job in that film as well. And the same goes with this one too. And the one thing that I'm going to say about this movie is that, besides the fact that it's really good, there was actually one scene that really caught me so off guard that I did not expect to see it appear in here. And I'm not gonna give anything away because you should definitely check this out, and all of you are gonna know exactly what I'm talking about when you actually see it. And it just took me, it took a little getting used to just to try to get through the entire scene, but I was actually really caught off guard by it. But overall, this film is great. The performances by all the cast members were fantastic, so I definitely recommend Killer Joe if you haven't seen it. The next movie that I picked up is a movie with Jamie Foxx and Gerard Butler called Law Abiding Citizen. And this is basically about the character played by Gerard Butler, who has his wife and daughter. They were viciously murdered, and I believe during the trial hearing, when the two criminals are being sentenced, Gerard Butler finds out that Jamie Foxx's character, who's playing the lawyer, who's trying to convict them, but kind of makes this under the table deal in order to just get more publicity for himself, but he has the criminal sentenced to just a minimum amount of years, which is what Gerard Butler's character wasn't expecting. So Gerard Butler's character takes it into his own hands to literally punish everybody, including the criminals that killed his wife and daughter and everybody that was involved in the entire trial case. He takes it into his own hands to literally punish everybody, thus trying to kind of like prove that there is a fault within the justice system and things like that. So I don't think I'm giving too much away behind what happened in this movie, but overall it's a very nice action-packed movie, lots of drama, and just seeing how these two characters basically kind of interact with each other because they're at opposite ends. I mean, they're both striving for the same thing, but of course they're pretty much butting heads because one wants justice for the brutal slayings of his family, and the other wants to achieve justice in his own mind, but of course he's going about it through different methods and things like that, which may not be agreeable to everybody. So, but again, overall, it's a very good flick, and I definitely say that you should definitely check this one out too if you get a chance. The next movie I got here is the science fiction film Looper with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis. And I like this film. I really did. I really did enjoy the whole time travel aspect of it. It of course it does remind you of Terminator with the Bruce Willis character, because they both play the same character, just from being young to being older, and Bruce Willis sending himself back in time to meet up with his younger self and trying to get him to stop doing what he's doing because he knows the outcome and things like that. I like that whole aspect of it, and how these two pretty much interact with each other, and just how well Joseph Gordon-Levitt, did such a good job trying to imitate Bruce Willis, and even just the makeup effects to make him look like a young Bruce Willis was actually, I was really astonished, and it was like, wow, that's really cool. I like the way they did that. But like I said, I love this movie. It was really cool. I love the sci-fi angle of it, the whole Terminator thing. There's even a bit of an Omen, a Damon from the Omen feel in it, and for those of you that have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. So there's that. So it's kind of like a combination of Terminator and Damien from the Omen, and I would also like to mention that there's some aspect of it, especially at the beginning when Bruce Willis goes back to meet his younger self, that it kind of feels like Assassin's Creed in terms of trying to sync up with each other in a certain way, trying to guide each other around, even though it's not entirely like Assassin's Creed, and I'm kind of getting off point, but it does have that feel too. My only little gripe, I guess, is that for some reason I felt like there was some aspect of the science behind the time travel aspect of this film that I think is kind of flawed. I don't know what it is. I can't point, but for some reason there's something in the back of my mind that says that there's something a little bit flawed about the time travel, aspect of this film. But regardless of that, I still enjoyed it, and it's definitely, a fun flick to watch through. And definitely I would say, check this out too if you get a chance. The next movie that I have to show you guys is this film called Pitch Perfect, which is basically about a all-girl a cappella group that is trying to compete for, I guess, a national a cappella competition that happens in the States. And it's about these band of, girls that come together. They all come from different backgrounds, different aspects of life. So that, of course, they have differences of opinions in terms of the direction they want the a cappella group to go in. and ultimately it's about them trying to come together, you know, as this group, as this unit, and then compete in this competition and you know, try to win it. You know, it's similar to, like, you know, all the other basketball, breakdance, cheerleading movies that we've seen before. It's pretty much the same thing. It's just that it's about an a cappella group, but it's so hysterical. Everybody in this cast does a great job, pretty much portraying their characters and just adding their own tone of comedy to it. You know, especially this character. I forgot. I think her name is Brittany Snow, and she's the girl that was basically in the first Ghost Rider movie that goes about, you know, oh, her flame, and we went like all flaming, things like that. She's the one that basically is in this movie also, and she's like the most hilarious character actor here. It's just fantastic. But then again, you know, everybody does a great job, you know, playing the characters that they were given. You know, and it's a fun flick. It's a lot of fun. You know, it's pretty uplifting as well. You know, so I definitely, you know, would say check this movie out as well. Perfect Pitch. The next movie that I have to show you is the film called Red Riding Hood, the alternate cut on Blu-ray. And, you know, recently I think there's a string of old fairy tales that are being modernized, you know, for, you know, today's audiences. And this is one of those films, and, you know, I have to say that, you know, it's a nice telling of an old fairy tale. You know, they put a nice spin on it as well. You know, it's pretty much the same premise as the original storyline, Little Red Riding Hood and the werewolf, and, you know, she tries to get to her grandma's and things like that. So, but even that basic plot, you know, there's a bit of a twist in it as well. I don't want to say what it is because it kind of adds to the whole new concept behind, you know, this updated version of an old fairy tale. But I have to say that, you know, it's okay. It's good. You know, it's not the best adaptation of a Red Riding Hood movie, right? But it's fairly decent. Again, very stylistic, and that's, I think, one of the things that they try to go for with a lot of these updates for these old fairy tales or old movies, is they try to make it a lot more stylistic, you know. And this one, of course, definitely has it, and a lot of it has to do with her cape being so red behind, you know, the white backdrops that you see a lot of this film take place in. You know, the lead actress, of course, Amanda Seyfried, you know, and she does the role pretty well, you know, so I won't complain on that much. But, you know, I would say, you know, it's pretty cool. You know, it's pretty cool. You know, so definitely, you know, it's something to look at. The next movie that I have here to show you is something that I've, of course, shown you in a previous video, and that's the Blu-ray Steelbook edition of Resident Evil Retribution. And I really like this one so far in the franchise. And out of all of them, I'd say that, you know, the first Resident Evil movie and Resident Evil Extinction were also my favorites, and now this one as well. And Mila Jovovich, of course, comes back to, you know, reprise her role as the superhuman Alice here. And, you know, of course, we're fighting zombies, fighting monsters. Although I was a little bit kind of like disappointed that they went with some of the, you know, these zombie dogs and the executioner monsters. I was kind of hoping that maybe, you know, they kind of introduced some new monsters. You know, throughout all the Resident Evil movies, I was kind of still expecting them to finally, you know, put a hunter in a Resident Evil movie, but unfortunately there's no such luck. But, you know, other than that, again, you know, it's a very, very cool flick. Lots of action, very stylistic, which is one of the things that I think, you know, the director Paul W.S. Anderson was always trying to do in all his movies, is make these films ultra stylistic, you know, not just in terms of how the look of the characters or the settings, but just the, you know, just the action, everything, you know, basically you wanted to add a stylistic appeal to it, and it works in this one especially. One thing that I have to say as well is that the one thing that I don't find too interesting is the story behind this one. There are lots of loopholes, and it really tries to make leaps and bounds, you know, and there's some aspects of it that just don't make that much sense to me, because, you know, again, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, so I've played all the games, so I know exactly what goes on with all these characters, and there are just some things about some of these characters that just appearing here just for some reason, not for no reason, but it just doesn't make sense in terms of the canon of the games. And I know that the movies are in a different world and things like that, but again, there were just some gripes that I had with it. But overall, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. Again, just like Extinction and the first Resident Evil movie. And that being said, I have to say that one of the reasons that I also like this movie a lot is that it feels like the first movie as well. Again, going deep underground, even though it's below water, into these laboratories, and it's a small group trying to rescue another party and extract and get them out. It's the same feel as the first movie, and I pretty much appreciated that aspect of it too. So definitely check out Resident Evil Extinction if you haven't. The next movie that I finally decided to pick up, and I've seen this movie, every time I go to Best Buy, I see it on the shelves, and I remember thinking, way back when I first saw it in theaters, that I was going to try to check that movie out, but I didn't get around to it. And even when the Blu-ray came out, I said I'm going to get it, but I didn't get around to it until recently. And, it's The Town with Ben Affleck and Jeremy Renner and John Hamm and a bunch of other characters here too. And, I'm gonna give Ben Affleck credit. He did a great job directing this film, and even him acting in it. He was great. He was great at it. So I'm not gonna say anything bad about it. He's come a long way, and I know that basically he won the Golden Globe for Best Director for I believe it was Argo at the Golden Globes recently. So this basically is where it all started for him with that. So I'm definitely giving credit for it. This is a nice cops and robbers type of film, and definitely check this out if you haven't seen it. The next movie that I have to show you is this movie called Take This Waltz that stars Michelle Williams and Seth Rogen, and this movie has a very interesting look at the relationship between two characters, and just basically what could happen when there's differences in terms of how they view each other in a relationship, and if there are disagreements, how they try to go about trying to bounce back from these difficulties that couples have, and what happens when other people get involved and things like that. I don't want to give anything away, by going any deeper in my explanation about this film, but it's a very interesting, very well thought out look into relationships, and what makes them last, and why they don't, and what are some of those other elements that kind of fall in there in terms of making them last or not. So definitely I would recommend this film. It's an independent movie, so I would definitely, like I said, I definitely recommend this one to check out, Take This Waltz. So the next movie that I have to show you is the remake of the original Schwarzenegger movie, and it's Total Recall with Colin Farrell, Kate Beckinsale, and Jessica Biel. And I've seen the original. I like what Schwarzenegger did, in the original Total Recall, and I have to say that this is a nice remake and modernized version of the Schwarzenegger Total Recall. All these characters played the original roles really well, even adding their own spin on it, in terms of, again, make them more up to date. The only thing that is not here that's in the original is that there is no Mars. In other words, there is no trip to Mars because everything takes place on Earth. I guess the only difference, of course, is that it's basically broken up into colonies. So there's one colony, which I guess you can say represents the upper, richer class, which is on one side of the planet, and then you have another section, which is on the other side of the planet, which represents the poorer class. And it's one side trying to take over the other, kind of like how the original Total Recall was. And yeah, I mean, I liked it. I liked it. I enjoyed the original as well with Schwarzenegger, and I have to say that Colin Farrell did a pretty good job reprising, taking up the role of Quaid here. And even Kate Beckinsale and Jessica Biel did good jobs playing their respective roles too. So it was a lot of fun seeing this as well. So definitely I recommend Total Recall as a checkout. And the last movie that I have to show you is something that I have on DVD, and of course I just wanted to get it just to have it in an update format, and that's 28 Days Later. And you know, if you've seen my zombie movie collection, you know that I have nothing but good things to say about this film. You know, it's a lot of fun. So it's a British, you know, I get zombie movie, you know, but there are lots of creepy elements in here as well. You know, there's a lot of tense moments, a lot of creepy visuals. They just add to the whole, you know, ambiance of making this movie seem very eerie and very lonely, and you know, being stuck in that predicament that the character that Cillian Murphy plays, you know, finds himself in. And I still have to say this anyways, that for me the best moment of this film happens to be the first 15 or 20 minutes of it, when, you know, Cillian Murphy's character wakes up in the hospital and he's, you know, walking through the hospital, walking through the streets of London, and everything is deserted and there's nothing but, you know, debris everywhere, and he doesn't know where anyone is, and he's trying to find answers, and especially the music in the background, how it slowly begins to get louder and louder. You know, it just adds to the overall feel of that entire scene, and I love that scene. I eat it up. You know, it's fantastic. I love it. So, you know, definitely 28 Days Later is something that, you know, I definitely need to have in my collection. So, well, guys, that's pretty much it for my January movie collections update video. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. You know, I hope you enjoyed some of the recommendations and things that I point out as a must see, or at least as, you know, something that I would say you should definitely check it out because it's a fun flick. You know, which probably is what I say about all the movies anyway, because everything that I pick out always seems to be, you know, pretty good. But, you know, there are some, of course, that I definitely say you must see no matter what. You know, so again, hope you enjoy this one. And again, you know, like I said, pretty much either every 3 weeks or, you know, at least once a month, I'm going to come out with these movie collection update videos. So definitely stay tuned for the next one. And, you know, subscribe to my channel, leave me comments. You can follow me on Twitter as well. I have a Twitter account. Everything should be right on my page. So definitely do that. And, you know, keep coming back for more, guys. All right? Peace.